autopilot without investing. How does that sound? So without further ado, please help me welcome Paul Rosano.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alexa. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Anish. Really appreciate you all having me. And amazing that it's been a whole year since the world completely changed overnight, literally. And yeah, it's hard to believe that it was 12 months ago that I first shared this training with you guys, and that was the first webinar I did after COVID happened. So here we are, 12 months later, and still not back to normal. So hopefully, God willing, we'll be back to normal soon. But really grateful to be here again, and just appreciate you guys having me. And Anish, I know talking to you beforehand, you've been getting some really great results with the training that we offer, and I'm excited to share this with everybody at your group again tonight. So that being said, I'm going to dive on in, and for everybody who's here, if you didn't see this presentation last year, I'm going to go through, and I have a lot that I want to share with you all in the next 90 minutes or so. So I'm going to go relatively quickly. So turn off your phones, turn off your distractions, pay very close attention, make sure you're taking good notes. I'm going to save all of my questions until the very end of the presentation. So as I'm going through this tonight, if you have any questions, just jot them down, maybe type them into that Q&A, and we'll save all those questions till the end. Because like Anish said, or Ryan said, I may answer those questions for you as I go on with the training. So that's why I just like to save them all until the end. I also just want to take a second before I dive into the training, just to acknowledge all of you. I want to acknowledge everybody who's here on this training tonight. If you're here, that says something about your success or your commitment to your success, right? If you're here tonight and you're dedicating time to learn and be part of this incredible organization that Anish and Ryan have created for all of you, this incredible networking and education organization, Broward and Miami-Dade RIA, and obviously doing everything virtual at this point. But I know these guys are crushing it and doing amazing things to bring the best trainers, the best speakers, the best education to all of you. So the fact that you're showing up, the fact you're here when I know that there's about 1,000 other things you could be doing right now. So the fact you're sitting here and at this meeting, on this training, it says something about your commitment to your success. So just really want to tip my hat and acknowledge you for committing to your own success. And I also want you to know that I'm going to do everything that I possibly can in the next 90 minutes or so to give you as much value, to give you as much of an ROI on this investment of your time as I possibly can. So that being said, let's dive on in. And again, really fascinating information to cover and to share with you tonight. So the topic, once again on the screen there, hacking finance, how to make the financial system build your wealth for you on autopilot without investing. So what we're talking about here is really the strategies of the ultra wealthy. How do you make this financial system actually work for you instead of against you? So that's what we're going to be covering here tonight. And before I dive into that, before we go into the nuts and bolts of the training, I want to just share a quick story with you about where this all came from. And George Antone is the founder of our company. And for those of you who don't know George, I'll share a little bit more about him with you in just a few minutes. But George Antone, founder of our company, creator of all of our training. I am simply a messenger of his brilliance and extremely blessed at that, a very blessed messenger that I'm the one that gets to share his information with people all over the country. And I have for quite a number of years. So anyway, George Antone is the founder of our company, and he gets invited to speak all over the country, and he has for many, many years. And a number of years ago, George was speaking at an event in Palm Springs, California, and he got done with his presentation and he's walking off stage. There are about 500 people at this event. And as George is walking off stage, a woman walks up to him and asks him a very interesting question. And what she said was this. She said, George, is there a way to build financial security without investing in stocks, bonds, or real estate, or even selling anything or starting a business? And so George just chuckled at first, because how do you possibly build wealth or financial security without doing any of these things? But then George looked in this woman's eyes, and he could tell by the look in her eyes, she was not kidding. And this woman was probably in her late 50s or early 60s. And she was nearing a point in her life that she was hoping to be able to retire at some point soon. but she didn't have nearly enough money to retire. So she wanted to know, how can I grow my money? How can I move forward financially faster than the money that I'm making, so that I could hopefully retire sooner rather than later? And when George looked in this woman's eyes, he sees this look of fear and desperation in this woman's eyes, because she's scared she may never be able to retire. She might have to work until her very last breath, right? And so George, being the man that he is, and then realizing there were a lot of other people out there that are wondering the same question, he decided to take it upon himself to research this, to see if there was a way he could help this woman and all the other people wondering the same question. So George went to work researching and researching and researching. And sure enough, he discovered something extremely fascinating. And what he discovered is essentially this whole new paradigm for building wealth that most people don't even know exists. And it doesn't even have a name. That's how few people know about these strategies. And so George decided to call this whole new paradigm for building wealth hacking finance. So that's what we call it, hacking finance. So I'm going to show you on the screen here what hacking finance is in 4 high-level bullet points. So hacking finance is 6 hours or less per month. And that can be broken down into 30-minute increments. And that's enough time. 6 hours or less per month is enough time to learn and implement one of these financial shortcuts, as we call them, that have the financial system work for you. So again, 6 hours or less per month is enough time to implement one financial shortcut per month. And when you implement these shortcuts, they are on autopilot, literally building your wealth for you month after month, year after year, without requiring any more work. So you learn the strategy, you set it up, and it is on autopilot. And another characteristic, another bullet point here is no investing is needed. Now, I know this might sound a little weird because you're all here as real estate investors or learning to be real estate investors. But with these strategies, again, to help this woman and all the other people out there who wonder the same thing, no investing could be required for these strategies. So with hacking finance, there is no investing needed. And they are extremely low risk strategies, extremely low risk. So you may look at these bullet points and say, how is it possible something with these characteristics could be effective to help me build wealth? And you'll see here tonight just how effective these strategies are to help you build a tremendous amount of wealth in your life. So really the objective here tonight, my objective for all of you, is to open your eyes to this powerful new paradigm that can help you build wealth without making risky investments. All right. And we're going to dive into some fascinating things. Before I do, again, I just want to share a little bit about myself. I know Alexa shared a little bit about my background, and thank you, Alexa. Really appreciate that. And just a little bit more about me, who I am, where I come from, why I'm here, and why you should listen to me. So I started out, I got a degree in finance, graduated high school, went away to college. I actually went to college down in Florida, and I'm from New York originally. And I got a degree in finance. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but I love numbers. Math was really easy for me, so I got a degree in finance. I graduated college 4 years later, still had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew I didn't want to do the corporate 9-to-5 gig. And I met a mentor as soon as I graduated college at the age of 21 years old, who was a very successful real estate investor. And he took me under his wing and he started showing me the ropes. And over the last 22 years at this point, so I just told you all how old I am. Over the last 22 years, I have been in the real estate business, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of transactions on the residential and commercial side of the business. And I've created a lot of success for myself as a real estate investor. Another thing that's very important you should know about me is I am a growth junkie. So the same mentor who got me into real estate introduced me to the whole world of personal and professional development. And I've been fully committed and fully immersed in learning everything that I can possibly learn as well for the last 22 years. Anything that can improve my chances of being successful and making a difference in the world. And now that I get to speak and teach, I love that even more than being a student, which is pretty hard to do. But I'm a growth junkie. I'm assuming some of you can relate to that. And another important thing is I am personally trained, mentored, and handpicked by George Antone, the founder of our company, to be the person who travels all over the country normally, has been doing this virtually for the last year, sharing this information with as many people as possible. So it's a little bit about my background. And who is this George Antone character? Who's this guy that I'm talking about? Who's the founder of our company, and why should you listen to him? So a little bit about George and his background. George started out in the high-tech space. He was a developer, software developer for some small companies. Maybe you've heard of them. One of them is called Microsoft. The other one is called Intuit, makers of QuickBooks and Quicken Financial Planner. So George was a software developer, and he worked for these enormous companies. And he was making great money at a pretty young age, but he was working those typical developer hours. And he was leaving the house before the kids were up, and he was getting home after they went to bed. And he had, a wife and 3 young kids at home. And even though he was making great money, he figured, there's got to be a better way. This is not the life that I really want, feeling really unfulfilled. And so in 2001, George met a mentor as well that got him involved in real estate investing. And George started buying apartment buildings. And at one point, George owned over 1,000 doors. So he had a pretty significant portfolio of apartment buildings. And then George got into private lending. And a lot of people know George for what he has done in the private lending space. He has run hedge funds for private lending, and he's raised millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars for everything from real estate to private lending, even things like businesses and infomercials. So extremely accomplished as an investor and a private lender. And at this point, George is considered a thought leader in the finance and investing space. So all of this is great, right? All these things about me and all these things about George, they're great, but they still don't really tell you why you should listen to George, who created this training, or why you should listen to me, who's here delivering it to you tonight. So I can tell you George Antone is the best-selling author of these 3 books, but you know what? Who cares? Who cares? I can tell you George was a radio host on the Wall Street Radio Network, but again, who cares? I can tell you George was a lead developer for the world's #1 personal finance software, Quicken Financial Planner. Pretty cool accomplishment, but again, who cares? I can tell you George founded the largest network of private money lenders in the entire world. I mean, that is quite an accomplishment, but again, who cares? Who cares? Because all this stuff, again, is great, but it still doesn't tell you why you should care, why you should listen, and why you should pay very, very close attention to what I'm about to teach you here tonight. And what it comes down to is this: why you should care and why you should listen is because this information that you're about to get your eyes open to can completely transform your financial future from this day forward. What you learn here tonight and what you get exposed to here tonight can completely change the way you look at and the way you go about building wealth for the rest of your life. Okay, so that being said, are you all ready? Are you all ready? I can't hear you, so I'm going to assume the answer is yes, and let's dive on in. All right, cool. So we're going to start out with this self-assessment form. So Anish, or Ryan, can you just chime in and let me know, did everybody get this self-assessment form emailed to them when they registered for tonight's meeting?
They did not.
They did not. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
People were late, so yeah, they did not. But we could send that out to them after the event.
Okay, great. No worries at all. So the self-assessment form, you'll get this after the training tonight. Make sure you fill it out, because the self-assessment form, basically, I'm going to show you what it looks like here on the screen. The self-assessment form you can see right here at the top of the screen. This is what we call a personal finance efficiency form. Essentially, what this self-assessment form is going to do, this is going to show you how efficiently are you building wealth. How efficiently is your personal finance system set up? Are you building wealth with your personal finance system, or is the financial system actually working against you and making it harder for you to move forward financially? So that's what this form is going to show you when you fill it out. So make sure you fill it out, because obviously, just like any journey you go on, you need to know where you're starting from to know the best path and the best route to take to get to where you want to go. And when it comes to building wealth, and really when it comes to doing anything in life, especially building your wealth and moving forward financially, you want to make sure you're doing it as efficiently as humanly possible. That's really what it comes down to. That is what the ultra wealthy people in the world know how to do at a very high level. That is what we want to teach you how to do at a very high level, is how to build your wealth efficiently. Okay, so that's what this form is going to show you where you're starting out from. So you're going to get a score when you fill this out. And you can see on the bottom of the form right here on the screen, just like in school, passing is 65%. All right. It's not uncommon for people to have scores in the single digits. All right. A lot of people will have scores in the single digits or the teens, because at the end of the day, most people just don't know how to do the things that the ultra wealthy in the world know how to do. Right. So we're going to review a couple items on this sheet and on this list, and we'll dive in. We're going to deep dive into one of them. So let me just review a couple of these items with you right now. The first one we're going to review is line number 1. And line number 1 says, I strategically choose the following mortgage. You would put a score of 0 if you don't have any mortgages, a score of 1 if you have a 15-year mortgage, and a score of 4 if you have a 30-year mortgage. So clearly, a 30-year mortgage is a more efficient financial strategy and tool to have in place than no mortgage or a 15-year mortgage. I'm not going to dive into the details of why that is here tonight, but just know that, okay? A 30-year mortgage is the optimal thing to have in place when you have a mortgage that's encumbering your real estate, all right? So in the banks, obviously, they want you to choose the 15-year mortgage because that's more beneficial for them, which is why they give you a lower interest rate on a 15-year mortgage than on a 30-year mortgage, because it's beneficial for the bank, but as a borrower, it is not beneficial for you. So again, 30-year mortgage is the way to go. That being said, when you're filling out your self-assessment form after tonight's training, make sure you take a screenshot right now, take a picture of the screen so you can remember to do this when you're filling out your form, and make sure you have an accurate score, okay? So if you put a 0 or a 1 for line number 1, make sure you also put a 0 for lines 3, 6, 7, 11, and 12, all right? And again, that's just because this is related to using strategic debt. And if you have a 0 or a 1 as a score for line 1, you're not using debt as strategically as you can. Okay, that's what it comes down to. All right, so again, take a quick picture of the screen or a screenshot and make sure you adjust your score accordingly when you fill out this form after tonight's meeting. Okay, so moving on, we're going to look at line number 2. And line number 2 says, I deposit my paychecks in the following account. You'd put a score of 0 if you use a checking or savings account, which is most people, right? You put a score of 2 if you use a brokerage account, and a score of 4 if you use something called a sweep account, okay? Now, a lot of people don't even know what a sweep account is, and that's what we're going to focus on here tonight. We're going to deep dive into this, and I'm going to teach you all how to use a sweep account, okay? And you're going to see how just by increasing your score on this assessment form just a little bit, we're talking about going from a 0 or a 2 to a 4 for this line number 2. And just by moving your score a little bit on this self-assessment form, maybe 3 to 5 points, you're going to see how much of a difference that can and will make in your net worth over time, okay? How impactful these strategies can be, all right? So again, increasing your score just a little bit will have a huge impact on your wealth, and you'll see how that works here tonight. All right, so on the screen, you see all these blocks, right? I want you to imagine you take one of those blocks and you put it in your hand. And all these blocks are financial strategies that you can implement. Imagine you take one of them and you go and implement it. And that financial strategy will generate $5,000 for you within the next 12 months. Okay, we're not getting rich on this, but let's just consider this for a moment, right? If that strategy would generate $5,000 for you within the next 12 months, would that be worth an investment of $2,000 to get that strategy, get it implemented, and get 150% return on investment in 12 months or less? Would that be a wise investment? Of course, it's a no-brainer, right? The answer is yes. Okay, what about another strategy, if you implemented it, would generate $5,000 for you every single year? Would that be worth an investment of $2,000 to have that strategy in place? Again, no-brainer, right? What about another strategy that would generate $100,000 for you within the next 10 years? Would that be worth an investment of $2,000? And again, this is a rhetorical question, right? Of course, the answer is yes. What about another strategy that would generate a lifetime of tax-free income starting in 15 years? You heard me right. A lifetime of tax-free income starting in 15 years. Would that be worth an investment of $2,000 to know that strategy, learn it, get it implemented? Of course, the answer is yes, right? This strategy basically sets you up so literally everything you're doing could completely crash and burn. And you know that you have this plan B in place that starting in 15 years, you got tax-free income coming in for the rest of your life. Okay. Pretty solid strategy to learn how to get implemented. How about if you had all of these strategies that I just mentioned for a $2,000 investment? Would that be really worth that $2,000? Of course, again, the answer is yes, right? The reason I ask you this is because I want you to realize that all of these strategies and many more, I mean, I'm talking dozens more strategies, are built right into that self-assessment form that you'll be filling out after tonight's meeting. All right. So again, make sure you get it filled out. Make sure you accurately calculate your score so you can see where you're starting from on this journey. All right. So we're going to make a dent in one of these tonight. Again, I'm going to teach you all how to use the sweep account. We'll come back to that in just a few minutes. All right. Before I dive into teaching you that strategy, I want to just share a little bit more high level about this whole new paradigm for building wealth that we call hacking finance. Okay. So on the screen here, you see these three boxes, right? Trading, investing, and saving. Now, these are the traditional methods for people to build wealth. Basically, anything you can think of to have you move forward financially and potentially build wealth in your life would fit into one of these three buckets. All right. And tonight, I'm introducing you to a whole new method called hacking finance. So what we want to do is just take a look at these traditional methods compared to hacking finance, just to see how they stack up. All right. So let's look at trading. And with trading, I'm talking about trading stocks, trading currencies, maybe even trading cryptocurrencies these days. So with trading is something called a zero-sum game. And what that means is in order for you to win at trading, somebody else has to lose. There is a limited finite supply. And in order for you to win, someone else has to lose, and vice versa. So there is no such thing as win-win in trading. It is always win-lose. Okay? And with trading, you have to study a lot, you have to learn a lot, and it is a constantly evolving, constantly changing world with trading. And these days, you're competing in this win-lose game against computers and algorithms. So you really have to stay on top of everything if you want any chance of being successful as a trader. Not knocking it, but we just have to look at it and see how it compares, right? So trading happens to be the most risky of all the traditional methods to build wealth. Okay, now you can make a lot of money, but as we know, you can lose a lot of money as well. And this is a lifetime commitment if you're going to go down the path of trading. Okay, so that's trading. Now let's talk about investing. All right, with investing, you're all here. You're investors. I'm an investor. I've been an investor 22 years. So is George Antone. We're huge fans of investing. We teach investing at an extremely high level. But we have to look at this to say, okay, how does this stack up to hacking finance? I encourage all of you to keep on your path of being real estate investors. Keep coming to these incredible meetings with Anish, with Dave, with Ryan, with Broward, Miami-Dade, Rhea. These guys are doing an amazing job. So keep showing up, keep learning, keep on this path. It's not an either or approach. I'll explain more about that to you in a little bit. But we just want to look at investing and say, okay, what is investing? High level. Investing is risky. You can lose money as an investor. We all know that. If you haven't lost money as an investor, you haven't been doing it long enough. That's what I like to say, right? So, and when the market's going up and riding high, everybody's making money, right? But it's when the market comes down that people start to run into some problems. And guess what time we're heading into in the financial cycles? Any time now, any day now. So we have to look at that and consider all the things, right? But with investing, you can learn strategies in a few days, or read a book, or attend a training. But in order to master this skill of investing, it takes time. It's that old 10,000 hour rule, right? To master anything complex, it takes 10,000 hours of practice. Okay, Malcolm Gladwell, The Tipping Point, he talks about this 10,000 hour rule. So that's why when you're starting out with investing, it's great to have a mentor, right? Which I highly encourage all of you that are just starting out, get a mentor. Join Anish and Ryan's mentor program, right? Get a mentor so they can show you the ropes. That's how I started out. It's what helped launch my career as an investor, and I recommend that for everybody. So with investing, it can be risky, right? You can lose money. And again, you have to practice this for a very long time in order to become really successful and really good at it. All right. So that's investing. Now let's talk about saving. And I love this picture on the screen. And when I talk about saving, I mean extreme frugality. Okay. And we all know people like this. We all know people that they save every penny that they can. They spend as little as possible. They save as much as possible with the hopes that one day they will have saved enough money that they can retire and live off of their savings, right? So again, not knocking it. It's important that you have a savings plan in place. It's important that you're saving money, but at what cost? What are you giving up? And is there a more rewarding way to go about this and go through life? And the answer, of course, is absolutely yes. So again, tonight we're introducing you to Hacking Finance. And the beautiful thing about Hacking Finance is you can just learn how to be a finance hacker, as we call it. You can just learn these strategies and just get these strategies implemented and do nothing else. And you can amass a fortune in your life without any of the traditional methods. But again, you're all here as investors. So the beautiful part about Hacking Finance is when you combine these strategies with your investing, your returns are going to go through the roof and your risk is going to go way down. Okay, so that's the results we care about as investors, right? Our return and our risk. Hopefully in the opposite order, actually, the risk and then the return. So again, when you combine your Hacking Finance strategies with your investing, it's literally win, win, win. And it's not either or, okay? You learn how to be a finance hacker, you learn how to reinvent your personal finance system, and you combine that with your investing system. And that's gonna give you the best results possible, okay? So we're calling this Hacking Finance. So it's important that we address this because a lot of people out there still have a negative connotation for the word hacking. Because over the years, there have been a lot of hackers, quote unquote hackers, that have done things illegally and hurt people because they're hackers. So I want to just talk about what is hacking to George Antone. Why did he decide to call this whole new paradigm for building wealth Hacking Finance? So let me just share a quick story with you about George and why he calls this Hacking Finance. So when George was 15 years old, his dad bought him his first computer, and it was something called the Sinclair or Spectrum. And he also gave him this book on this programming language called Assembly. And George, as a 15-year-old, self-proclaimed nerd, loves computers, real engineer's mind. And George gets his first computer and this programming book. And he's like, this is the coolest thing I've ever gotten. And he was so geeked out. And he was like, you know what? I want to learn how to make this computer do things nobody has ever gotten it to do before. So George went to work studying this programming language, studying the computer, pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And sure enough, before long, George had created programs and games that had never existed before. And so to George, that's what hacking is. Okay, hacking, quite simply, is studying the intricacies of an existing system so that you can create new possibilities within that system that have never existed before. Okay, so that is what hacking is to George. So if you have ever used the programs Quicken or Quicken Financial Planner, if you have ever played the game SimCity, or if you've ever used Microsoft Windows, which is probably every single one of you, right? Then you have benefited because George Antone learned how to become a computer hacker and a software hacker, okay? So if you go talk to any computer hacker, they will tell you hacking is a great thing because it creates a whole new world of possibilities. That's how innovation happens, is with hacking, okay? So that's what hacking is to George. So then what exactly is Hacking Finance? Well, Hacking Finance then is quite simply the studying the intricacies of the financial system so that we can create a whole new world of possibilities within that existing financial system that have never existed before. So that's what Hacking Finance is. And so one of the things with Hacking Finance is it's kind of like some martial arts, like jujitsu or judo, where you want to learn how to use your opponent's strengths, like their weight and their size, for your benefit. Instead of those things getting used against you, you want to learn how to flip it around and use it for your own benefit, right? Now, take a wild guess. Who is your opponent when it comes to building wealth? Who's your opponent when it comes to building wealth? And I want you to just type into the chat box, not the Q&A, right? We made that distinction. So just type in the chat box, some of you, who do you think your opponent is when it comes to building your wealth? And I see Shirley said you. Michael, you nailed it. Eric, you nailed it. Okay, awesome. So Michael and Eric said the banks. And you're right on point. It is the banks. But it's basically the banks are part of, thank you all for typing in some comments. Appreciate all your feedback. The banks are part of the financial system, right? The banks were created by the financial system, but the financial system is even bigger than the banks. The banks are an integral part of the financial system, but really at the end of the day, your opponent, my opponent, every single one of us, our opponent when it comes to building our wealth is the financial system. Plain and simple. In case you don't know this, I don't want to burst your bubble here tonight, but it's better you learn this now rather than later. The financial system was designed and is wired to work against us with very, very, very powerful forces like inflation, taxes, interest, something called float that you're going to learn about here tonight, and about 10 other things that have the financial system working against us. The result is, like it says on the screen, we have to work harder and longer hours just to barely keep up. And the reality is most people are working harder and longer hours and they're falling further and further and further behind. I love to use this analogy. So think about it like this. Imagine you have a goal, a financial goal. And imagine to achieve that goal, you have to swim upstream financially. Imagine swimming upstream. There's a flowing stream or a flowing river. And imagine you're trying to swim against the current. Imagine how hard you have to paddle. You can paddle as hard as you want, and you're actually probably going to just keep getting pushed further downstream. That's what's happening to most people financially. That's how the financial system is designed. What Hacking Finance is going to enable you to do, what we're going to teach you how to do, is literally, we're going to show you, you don't have to swim upstream anymore. You can actually turn your boat around and you can just go downstream, merrily, 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 right? Downstream. You can paddle once in a while and literally let the current of the financial system take you to your financial goals way faster with way less work. Okay? So that is how Hacking Finance works. Now, if that sounds like something that you want to learn how to do, go ahead and type in the chat, yes. Go ahead and type in the chat, yes, if you want to learn how to go downstream financially instead of swimming upstream like everybody else is doing. Okay, awesome. I see a bunch of yeses coming through, so I really appreciate that feedback. This is a game changer, my friends. This is absolutely game changer when it comes to moving forward financially and building wealth in your life, all right? So the good news is anyone, and I mean anyone, can use these strategies to make the financial system work for you by Hacking Finance, okay? So by doing these strategies, by learning how to become a finance hacker, you can be on that side of the equation and have the financial system working for you. All right. So that being said, before I dive in and start teaching you this one strategy that I'm going to teach you here tonight, just a quick warning for all of you, okay? We've all heard the saying, easier said than done, right? With Hacking Finance, it's actually the opposite. It's easier done than said. And what I mean by that is quite simply, these strategies, the one I'm going to teach you tonight, and most of the strategies we will teach you, they're very simple to implement, okay? I'm going to literally show you a strategy tonight to how to use a sweep account, and I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3, how to go get this strategy set up. And it's very simple to set up, but to actually understand how it works and why it works mathematically is a lot more challenging. Much harder to understand why it works, but very easy to go and implement them, okay? Now, that being said, a couple of things to just say about that. Some of our students want to learn all the ins and outs. They want to learn the mathematics behind it. For our students that want that, we provide that. We give you spreadsheets, we give you calculators, we teach you exactly how it all works. Some of our students just say, you know what? I want to just learn how to implement it and get it set up. I'll trust that it works. And our students that say that, they know George Antone. Okay. And something about George Antone that I want you all to understand is that George is one of the biggest skeptics you will ever meet. And what I mean by that is George, because of who he is, because of his position and, and what he represents in the world, he constantly is researching himself and he's constantly having other people share different strategies with him, things they've learned, things they've heard about, things he finds when he's researching. George's number one goal when he learns a new strategy or hears about it, the number one thing he sets out to do is disprove the strategy mathematically. And because George is basically a financial and mathematical genius, so he has the knowledge and the ability mathematically with very complex formulas to prove or disprove strategies work mathematically. So he sets out to disprove every strategy he learns. The ones he proves work mathematically by this process are the only things we teach. So again, the only strategies we teach are ones that have been proven mathematically to work, okay? So I just want you to get that, and I want you to understand that. So again, easier to implement, harder to understand. You can choose the path of just go and implement them. They will work. They're mathematically proven to work. And you can also choose the path of really getting into the nitty-gritty and learning exactly how they work and why they work, okay? So that's available for everybody. But for tonight, I'm going to show you how to implement a strategy. And I'm going to give you a little bit as to how it works, but just be aware, I only have a very limited amount of time here with you tonight. So I can't go into all the details about how this strategy works. You're going to have a lot of questions. I'll do my best to answer as many of them as I possibly can, but I definitely won't be able to get to all of it here tonight. And some of it, you really need visuals and you need calculators to really understand how it all works, okay? So hopefully that makes sense for everybody. That being said, let's dive on in, and I'm going to teach you this strategy. So again, pay very close attention, take very good notes, get yourself fully present because you do not want to miss any of this. And again, this strategy I'm about to teach you, this is an example of a 6-figure financial shortcut. I said that on the back here. This is the strategy that can help you improve your net worth by over 6 figures in 10 years or less. And you're going to see here in just a little bit how it can be even 7-figure difference in your net worth over time. Okay, extremely powerful strategy. All right, so again, this is for line number 2 on your self-assessment form, and this is going to teach you how to use a sweep account. So let's deep dive into this right now. So to teach you this strategy, actually, before I do, I'm going to take a quick sip of water, wet my whistle, so to speak. All right, so here we go. You all ready? Okay, hope you're ready. I hope you're ready to take good notes, and I hope you're ready to have your mind blown, because this is quite a mind-blowing and, quite frankly, a mind-bending strategy. Just like a lot of this stuff, it's a little outside the box. So hold on to your seats, or if you're standing, hold on to something and buckle up, get ready for a really wild ride here. Okay, so to teach you this strategy, I'm going to give you the tale of 2 neighbors. We have Regular Rob on the left and Smart Sam on the right. And these guys are next door neighbors. They live right next to each other. They have the same job, same income. They're both homeowners, same number of kids. They bank at the same bank. They have the same mortgage that they signed for at the same time on the same day. And I didn't put this up there, but it's worth sharing. Their wives are identical twins, guys, okay? Guys and gals. So these guys, their lives are really, truly identical, okay? They both have a 30-year, $300,000 mortgage. And again, they get paid the same amount of money on the same day, every single month. And they bank at the same bank. So when they get paid, they literally walk to the bank together and they deposit their checks into their respective checking accounts, okay? And that's that. Now, Smart Sam, so basically at this point, everything is the same. Smart Sam is only doing one thing differently. And what he does, he uses one shortcut. And what he does with this shortcut is he transfers his paycheck from his checking account to a line of credit. And that line of credit, he just sets it up with his bank, real simple. And he uses the line of credit to pay his bills instead of using his checking account, like his neighbor Regular Rob. And after 10 years of using this one single shortcut, Smart Sam's net worth is 6 figures higher than his neighbor Regular Rob. 6 figures after just 10 years. And it's a healthy 6 figures. I'll share the exact amount with you in just a little bit. So what's going on here? Well, it's really just a simple tweak that Smart Sam is using, right? And how does this work? Well, consider this, all right? Consider this. Most people deposit their checks into a checking account, right? And after a few weeks, we'll use an example. We'll just say 3 weeks. Can be 1 week, 2 weeks. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to say 3 weeks. They use that money then pay their bills, right? So the money goes into a checking account and sits there for 3 weeks out of, let's just say 4 weeks, all right? There's a little bit more than 4 weeks in a month, but let's just say there's 4 weeks in a month. So 3 out of 4 weeks, the money's sitting there in their checking account, just waiting to pay bills. Now, while the money's in the checking account, is it doing anything for you or them or anybody who keeps their money in a checking account? Is it doing anything for you? And of course, the answer is no, right? Your money's earning next to nothing sitting in a checking account. But who is benefiting tremendously from your money sitting in a checking account? And I'm sure you guessed it. Feel free to type it in. The answer is banks. The bank is benefiting tremendously from us keeping our money in checkings and savings accounts, right? They're using our money to make a ton of money. And this is called float, my friends, okay? F-L-O-A-T, float. And this is a very powerful strategy that banks and financial institutions use to make a whole lot of money off of our hard-earned money. All right, and this is what it looks like. So that means for 3 weeks out of every month, your money sits there doing nothing. This is happening month after month after month after month after month. Okay, this is happening throughout your entire life and your entire career, right? So you're like, wait a second. So because I'm using checking accounts and savings accounts, like I was taught to by the banks who are the ones benefiting from this, right? So everyone's just using the system the way they were taught to use the system, not realizing they were taught to use the system by the system to benefit the system and work against us, right? So just think about it in terms of this. If you have a 40-year career, which is on average most people's career, right? Even a little longer. But if you had a 40-year career, how long is your money sitting there in your bank accounts doing nothing for you out of 40 years? If it's in there 3 out of 4 weeks every month doing nothing for you, that means over a 40-year career, your money's doing nothing for you for 30 years. 30 years that your money could be working for you, but yet it's working for the bank. So crazy idea here, my friends, crazy idea. How do we have float work for us instead of float working for the bank? Okay, so that's what we're going to show you here how to do. And there's another huge benefit from this strategy as well, in addition to having float work for you. All right, so to teach you this strategy, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios. I'm going to walk you through these 3 scenarios. So again, pay very close attention here. Now, scenario number 1, what I'm going to show you is this. In scenario number 1, imagine you have $5,000 and you have these 2 buckets where you can put that $5,000. You have a 1% bucket and you have a 6% bucket. And this $5,000 is income, all right? This is money that's coming in. It can be active income, investment income, passive income, doesn't matter. But you just have this $5,000 of income that just came in. So this is not a trick question. Where would you put it? In the 1% bucket or the 6% bucket? And of course, no brainer, right? Of course, you're going to choose the 6% bucket. That's scenario 1. Simple enough. We all know we're going to choose that 6% bucket over the 1% bucket, okay? Now, let's look at scenario number 2. With scenario number 2, you have that same $5,000 of income. And in scenario 2, I'm going to put a little twist on this, all right? Imagine that 1% bucket is a checking account and it's earning you 1%. Now, we all know checking accounts are not earning 1%. If yours does, I'd really love to know where you bank, okay? But checking accounts are earning less than 0.1% or, somewhere around there. But checking accounts are basically earning nothing. But assume for a moment that your checking account was earning you 1%. Now, if it's earning you 1%, do you have to pay taxes on that 1%? The answer is yes. That's considered income. So you actually have to pay taxes on it. So you don't even walk away with 1%. Now, the 6% bucket, this is a line of credit. All right. Now, let's remember Smart Sam's scenario for a moment. Smart Sam, I want you to imagine that he has this line of credit set up at his bank. Okay. And imagine Smart Sam has an $8,000 balance on his line of credit and he's paying 6% interest on that $8,000 balance. All right. Now, the way lines of credit work, if you don't know, is you pay interest based on your daily balance. So if you have an $8,000 balance on a line of credit, you're going to pay 6% per day based on that $8,000 balance. So Smart Sam knows this. And because he's so smart, he says, you know what? What if I take my $5,000 of income, instead of just keeping it in my checking account where it's doing nothing for me, what if I transfer it over to my line of credit and pay the balance of my line of credit down from $8,000 down to $3,000? So now for those 3 out of 4 weeks, while my money is waiting to pay bills, it's actually saving me 6%, tax-free, by the way. Saving 6% tax-free. So that's what Smart Sam is doing, right? And then when it comes time to pay his bills, he pays his bills out of the line of credit. The balance goes back up, and he keeps doing that every month. So now he's got float working for him. Okay. So the key thing is here, one of the key things is you need to make sure when you set up this line of credit with your bank, you have to make sure it has check writing capabilities. So you can just stroke a check from the line of credit to pay bills. Okay. There's some other strategies you want to set up to really make this even more efficient. But for now, for tonight, just know this is how you set this strategy up. Now, I'm going to go into scenario number 3. And with scenario number 3, by the way, the line of credit can be any line of credit. It can be a home equity line of credit, can be a secure, any other secured line of credit, any unsecured line of credit. Just have to make sure the numbers work and the numbers make sense. Again, we will give you, in our training program, we're going to give you spreadsheets and calculators so you can just plug numbers in and really understand exactly how to optimize this strategy for your own personal situation. But again, just simple, high level, make sure it has check writing capabilities, and just get this line of credit set up. The lower the interest rate, the better, obviously, right? Okay, so that's scenario number 2. Now, for scenario number 3, I'm gonna answer a question that I know without a doubt some of you are asking yourself this question. And the question is this: why on earth would I want to go out and set up a line of credit and put any balance on that line of credit and pay any interest at all instead of just having my money sitting in a checking account doing nothing for me? All right? Why do you want to pay any interest and take on any debt at all and just to have float work for you instead of have the money sitting in a checking account? Now, float by itself, actually, the numbers make sense to where it is beneficial. And the way we'll teach you to set this strategy up, it's still beneficial even just to have float working for you to set it up. All right. But there's another huge advantage to setting this strategy up that I'm going to show you here in scenario number 3. And I'm going to answer that question for you. Why do you want to go get debt? Why do you want to set up a line of credit and take on this debt to have float working for you? Well, there's another huge benefit. Okay. And here's what it is. Imagine this scenario in scenario 3, Smart Sam. Imagine he's got the line of credit set up, but he doesn't have any balance on it. Okay. Now you remember Smart Sam, and he's got that 30-year, $300,000 mortgage. So again, because he's so smart, he says, well, I'm paying all this interest on this mortgage over the course of 30 years. So I'd like to pay that mortgage off a lot faster and save myself a whole bunch of interest. And so what Smart Sam does, he says, you know what? I'm going to write a check from my line of credit to my mortgage. And I'm going to take a big chunk out of my mortgage and transfer it over to my line of credit. So what he does is he writes a check for $20,000, pays $20,000 of his mortgage off the principal, and transfers that $20,000 to the line of credit. And now he's got a balance on the line of credit, and he can be using his income to pay that balance down over time. Eventually the line of credit balance will be paid off, and he'll take another big chunk out of his mortgage. And he's going to keep doing this over and over and over. So now he's got float working for him the whole time. And he's going to pay that mortgage off a whole lot faster, because what he's doing is he's actually propelling himself forward on something called the amortization table for his mortgage. And now every payment he makes to his mortgage, more goes towards principal and less goes towards interest. So by using this strategy in this way, after 10 years, Smart Sam is mortgage free. Completely free and clear. His neighbor, Regular Rob, still owes over $250,000 on that original 30-year, $300,000 mortgage. This is over $250,000 difference in their net worth after just 10 years from one single, simple financial shortcut. And Smart Sam didn't have to invest any of his money. He didn't risk losing any of his money. And he just made $250,000 difference in his net worth after 10 years from one single, simple financial shortcut. So you're starting to see the power of this and how this works, hopefully, right? So the question is, what should Smart Sam do now? So now he's free and clear. He owns his home free and clear after just 10 years. So what Smart Sam should do now is refinance. Okay, he should refinance his home. Remember I said in the very beginning of the presentation, if you weren't here, I'll say it again. A 30-year mortgage is a very powerful tool to have in place. Okay, and there's a number of reasons why that is. But a 30-year mortgage is a very powerful tool to have in place. So he's going to refinance. He's going to get another 30-year mortgage on the home. And he's going to keep doing this over and over and over. He's going to keep using the same strategy. Okay. So I'm going to circle back and tell you why that is in just a little bit. But the bottom line here, my friends, is this. While your money is waiting to pay bills, you can use it way more efficiently, which will allow you to pay off debt a lot faster and increase your net worth significantly without investing. All right. And this is all done with a simple shortcut at your local bank. You just set up a line of credit, make sure it has check writing capabilities, start using this strategy right away. Okay. That's it. It's very simple. Okay. So again, we have all these different financial shortcuts, literally dozens of them. So we have to name them so we can identify them and know which one is which. So this particular financial shortcut, we call this one the master sweep account. And we call it that because you're basically sweeping all of your money in and out of this line of credit. So your money comes into the line of credit, your money goes out of the line of credit. So that's why we call it the master sweep account. Okay. And this is one of our students just sharing in our private online group about the results that she's getting from using the master sweep account. Take another sip of water. So this is Andrea, one of our students that's getting, one of our many, many students that's getting incredible results. And this is what she had to say. I'll just read it for you. She says, that moment you realize you need to write another check from your MSA. The MSA is the master sweep account. That's what we call it. To your mortgage. She says, I keep thinking this is too good to be true. The MSA can't work this well. Well, it does work this well. I have been utilizing the technique for about a year and a half, and every time I pay down the HELOC, I write another $5,000 to $10,000 check to my mortgage. She's using a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, as her master sweep account, okay? Just so you can follow along here. She says, I expect to have my $260,000 mortgage paid off in roughly 6 more years. And did I mention I haven't changed my budget by one single penny? The grocery budget didn't change. The travel budget didn't change. I still save the same amount. Somehow this MSA churns away and works for me while I sleep. Good stuff. As always, thanks to George for teaching financial hacks that contribute to financial freedom. All right, so this is Andrea. Again, she's been using the master sweep account for a year and a half. She's got 6 more years until she's got her $260,000 mortgage completely paid off. So that's 7.5 years total to pay off her 30-year, $260,000 mortgage. So let's look at this on a timeline, on a 30-year timeline, to see the impact of this over time. All right. Now imagine Andrea has a neighbor like regular Rob, and her neighbor started out with that same $260,000 mortgage, but the neighbor's just going to be making regular payments on it. Okay. Just like regular Rob. And Andrea is using the master sweep account. So let's look at the impact. All right. Let's look at the difference that this will make in Andrea's net worth over time. So they start out at the same place. 7.5 years in, Andrea is free and clear. And like I said with Smart Sam, what Andrea is going to do is she's going to refinance her home. Okay. And let's assume that the value of the home didn't go up. Let's assume her financials didn't change at all. And the only thing she's going to pull out is the $260,000 each time. Okay. So let's just assume that throughout this entire 30-year timeline, that the value of her house doesn't go up, and her financials don't change at all, and she's just going to keep pulling out that same $260,000. All right. So here we are at 7.5 year mark. She pulls out $260,000, which is, by the way, tax-free money. This is a loan. This is not income. So she now has $260,000 tax-free in her pocket after just 7.5 years. Her neighbor obviously still has a long way to go. Now we're at 15 years. Another 7.5 years goes by. Andrea is going to be free and clear and refinance again for a second time. Neighbor's still got a long way to go. Andrea now has $520,000 tax-free in her pocket after 15 years. Okay, you get the picture here, right? We're going another 7.5 years. We're now at 22.5 year mark. Andrea refinances for a third time. She now has $780,000 tax-free in her pocket. We finally reached that 30-year mark. The neighbor's out on the front lawn doing that happy dance, so ecstatic. He finally paid off his mortgage, has no clue what just happened and what opportunity cost just hit him That's called opportunity cost, right? And Andrea refinances for a fourth time at that 30-year mark, and she now has over $1 million tax-free in her pocket after 30 years from using one single simple financial shortcut. 30 years, one shortcut. Do you start to see the impact of hacking finance and how much of a difference this can make for you and for anyone who just learns it and implements it and does it? The difference and the results is enormous. It's enormous, okay? And by the way, I didn't say anything about what Andrea is doing with the money when she pulls it out. When she refinances the home, do you realize that if Andrea combined this master sweep account strategy with just one other strategy, so she just had two of our financial shortcuts working for her at the same time, and she was doing the most efficient thing possible with the money when she refinanced, that she would have over $8 million difference in her net worth. $8 million after 30 years from just two financial shortcuts combined together. My friends, what is the cost of not doing this? And what is the cost of not knowing about this? It's enormous. It is enormous. It's literally immeasurable. It's way more than 8 million because we're just talking about two shortcuts combined together. And there are dozens of these shortcuts to learn and implement. Are you seeing why the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer and the middle class is disappearing? Do you see why the ultra wealthy know a lot more than the average person knows about how to make the whole financial system work for them? While everybody else is swimming upstream, they just keep swimming downstream, all right? So I want to pause for a second. Anish, is there anything you want to share about this?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I do have some questions that we're kind of relating to them, so I just want to kind of hit them. So one of them, like Christian's asking, should you try to pay off the line of credit every month or should it be maximized?
No, you're not going to be paying off the line of credit every month. So there's a specific formula for how this works. So let me just give you all the formula here. So when you're setting up the line of credit, you want to set it up so that the line of credit that you have available to you is at least 4 times your monthly income, okay? So if you have a $10,000 a month income, you want to set up a line of credit that has a minimum available line of $40,000, okay? That's ideal. And you want to have your balance of the line of credit be a maximum, okay, a maximum balance of 2 times your monthly income. So same example, your maximum balance in that case would be $20,000. All right. Now, all of that depends on your personal situation. So there's no way for me to tell you exactly how to set it up. But at the end of the day, what's happening here is depending on how much disposable income you have. So basically, your disposable income is what's going to be paying the balance of the line of credit down and down and down each month. So ideally, you want to set this up to where you have enough disposable income to where the balance of the line of credit gets paid off in anywhere between 6 to 12 months. And then you take another big chunk out of whatever debt you're paying off, okay? And you keep doing it that way. So it really depends on your disposable income and how much disposable income you have. But that's the formula that we give. And the reason we want you to have a maximum of 50% of the line of credit used is because that's going to impact your credit score. If you start using more than a 50% utilization rate, as they call it, your credit score is going to start to get negatively impacted. So that's why we give you that formula to use. So hopefully that clears that up and makes some sense for everybody.
And Tamar's asking, and it's funny because just so you guys, I'm going to laugh because these are questions I was asking last year. So he's asking, what if the mortgage interest is less than the line of credit?
Mm-hmm.
So I know in that example, I think you had a lower interest rate and it was 6% on the line of credit.
Yeah. So great question. And that's the scenario a lot of people are in. Most people are in right now, right? Most people have their mortgage, if you refinanced in the last year, which most have, and if you have in the last couple of years, 4% or lower is most people's interest rate on their mortgage. And a line of credit, if you have really great borrowing capacity, really great financials, your line of credit, you're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 6%. So why does it financially make sense to pay off debt that has a lower interest rate than the line of credit that you're using to pay it off? Well, the short answer is this. Without giving you a visual on it, it'll probably be hard for you to comprehend this. But we're going to actually teach you a way to set with all the details. And again, I'm giving you all enough tonight, high level, that I want you to be able to go set this up tomorrow. There's more details. This is probably a 6-hour training module within our training program. I'm trying to condense it down to just give you the high level of how to go get it set up at a high level. But there's some nuances and some details as to how you really can optimize this strategy and maximize the effectiveness of it. One of those things that you're going to do is we're going to teach you how to pay the balance of the line of credit down to almost zero, or pay the line of credit balance down as low as possible for 28 days or so every month. And like I said, because you're paying interest on your daily balance on a line of credit, what that does by setting up the strategy that way, where basically you have income come in, let's say on the first day of the month, you pay the balance down. Your balance stays low for almost the whole month until the last day of the month, and then it goes back up when you pay your bills. Okay, that's ideally how you want to set the strategy up. By setting it up that way, you're lowering something called your effective interest rate. So even though your interest rate on the line of credit might be 6%, we're going to teach you how to lower the effective interest rate on the line of credit down as low as 2%. So it still makes sense financially and mathematically to pay off debt at 4% or 3% because your effective interest rate on the line of credit is actually lower than that. Okay. So again, pretty challenging to understand that without a visual, but hopefully that makes some sense.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that because
Sure.
Paul said this last year, and I have a degree in finance, and I was saying, I'm like, does that really make sense? And I'm actually, after watching last year's, I actually purchased, and it's basically a student, and they literally give you those spreadsheets, and you put your mortgage number, you put it in, I call it, Anish proof, which is like dummy proof, right? Insert here, and then you could actually see exactly what he's talking about. Is the effective rate goes way down, and then there's an amortization table, and you really start seeing, do it again. And I probably watched it a million times, so don't worry. That's the stuff that we're talking about. That don't worry about why it happens; it just happens. Yeah. Is the easiest way to tell people. I got a couple more questions. Do you need to pay more towards the HELOC?
So the only thing you're really paying on the HELOC is the interest. So a lot of people are like, well, you're making a payment on the HELOC. Your income acts as your payment. And most lines of credit are interest only anyway. So again, the amount you're paying extra out of your pocket, the only thing you're paying extra out of your pocket is the little bit of interest that you'll be paying on the line of credit. But at the end of the day, what the advantage is as far as having float work for you and the amount of interest you will save on the debt you're paying off far outweighs the amount of interest you'll pay on the line of credit.
Yep. And Jackie's got the second part, the assumption that you're paying your mortgage off in 7.5 years and paying the same amount to the HELOC while making a regular payment to the mortgage as well.
Can you say that one more time, Anish?
Yeah. So is the assumption that you're paying your mortgage off in 7.5 years and paying the same amount to the HELOC while making a regular payment to the mortgage as well?
Correct. So you still, with this strategy, you continue making your monthly payments to your mortgage or whatever debt you're paying off. This works for any debt. It doesn't even have to be a mortgage. It can be car loans, student loans, credit cards. Doesn't matter what debt you're paying off. So yes, you'll keep making your regular monthly payment to whatever debt you're paying off. And as your income is making that line of credit payment each month.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that to add is also that you have to make more money than your debt or your monthly payments.
Yes.
That's something that people don't realize. If you're already in the negative, it's not going to work for you.
Will not work. Yeah. So you have to be cash flow positive each month. You have to have some disposable income in order for this to work.
Yep. And that's good for now. So I'll let you go back into.
Okay. Awesome. And Nish, I know you were sharing with me as well about the results that you've gotten and some calculations you did. You want to share that now?
Yeah. So one of the funny things is like, obviously Ryan and I, I'm also a student too, right? Even though we have a coaching program, I'm constantly learning. And the thought of that, and I was kind of like old school saying, well, why would I want a line of credit It doesn't make any sense. So again, I actually, I actually bought the stuff and a member, and I'm starting to use like the first thing, right? And then what Paul's talking about, there's building blocks. And now I'm using, my life insurance, cash value policies, and that was one of the building blocks. So now not only am I covered for my family with life insurance, I'm getting a dividend also on that. And now I got a line of credit that I'm using for my MSA account. And what I figured out, last year was between the line of credit, the dividend, the master sweep, I made no difference on any more money, and I was up almost 18%. So, each time, I was like, wait, does that make sense? And then I started doing it. And I was like, huh. So, not that there's a good thing about the pandemic. What I'm going to tell you, what happened during the pandemic for me was a reset button, right? Life gets busy. You got kids, family, you're working on your real estate business. And what you realize is that you work so hard to make money in, and you start making these changes, and now you get to keep it. And, and of course, I'm kind of like George a little bit too, was there's no way it's going to be paid off in 10 years and 12 years or, 8 years, on that stuff. And then I put my own numbers in, and I was pretty shocked on the effective rate. And since then, I've been able to, share this with a lot of family members. And of course, they didn't believe me, right? Until like I gave them this, the spreadsheet. I said, here, let's do your numbers. Mm-hmm. But these are some of the, basic techniques. There's other building blocks of, working the float on credit cards, moving your payments. So these are little things that you can do that if you actually take the time in your business. And sometimes, like what Paul's saying, the same thing, you don't have to understand why it works. It works in general. And once you start seeing that happen, I have to tell you, the other part was like, I feel like a dummy that I haven't been doing that for so long and didn't know. So
yeah, as does everybody who eventually meets George and starts learning from George. Everyone's kicking themselves like, man, if I only met you 5 years ago, where would I be now? But at the end of the day, none of us can go back. We can only go forward. But yeah, man, that's great to know. I'm really glad you're getting the results, just like all of our students are getting the results. As long as they do it, as long as they implement it, the results happen. There's no way for it to not happen. Again, it's just all mathematically proven to work. So awesome feedback. Thank you, Anish. Really appreciate that, man. All right, so continuing on here. So again, what is the cost of not doing this, right? It is enormous. There's almost no way to measure it. So the one decision, all right, this one decision to use the Master Sweep account affected what Smart Sam's life looked like, and Andrea and Anish and all of our students that are using these strategies. And it's just a little single, simple tweak in the system. You're just changing your financial system just a little bit of how you manage your money coming in and going out. And where do you keep your money when you're holding it? That's it. It's pretty simple. And anyone can use the same shortcut to pay, again, like I said earlier, student loans, car loans, any debt in a half to a third of the time, while you also have float working for you, right? It's a double benefit here. And again, this master sweep account strategy that I'm teaching you here tonight is just one of many financial shortcuts that any of us can use. There are dozens of them, like Anish was just alluding to. And for those of you who are wondering, I'm sure some of you are wondering, what are some of these other shortcuts, right? What are some of the other financial shortcuts? So let me just share with you high level what some of the other shortcuts are, and just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So do you realize, even with hard work, inflation always pulls you back? But with a simple tweak, inflation will work for you and increase your net worth automatically. And inflation, for those that don't know, again, I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but it's important you understand this, and it's important you know what's actually going on in the economy, in the financial system. The government tells us inflation is on average between 2 to 3% a year. And again, I hate to break the news to you if you don't know this already, but the government is not always being honest with us, okay? And inflation, if you go to a website called shadowstats.com, okay, shadowstats.com, you can check on what real inflation is based on the consumer price index, based on real data, real numbers. It's between 9 to 10% a year. 9 to 10%. Do you know what that does to your purchasing power over time? Talk about swimming upstream financially, right? The value of our dollars is just going down and down and down. And with the amount of money that's been printed in the last 10 years and now in the last year with this pandemic, we're heading into times that very easily and most likely will be hyperinflation. Don't quote me on that, but that's what it's looking like we're heading into. So is it very important to know how to have inflation work for you? And the answer is, of course, a resounding yes. You must know how to have inflation work for you. Very simple tweak can have that happen. Do you realize that banks use a powerful principle to increase yields? And you can easily replicate that principle in your local bank to benefit you. You can generate double-digit returns in your local bank account without investing by simply using this proven 200-year-old loophole discovered by someone that Forbes magazine calls the founding father of international finance. Double-digit returns from your bank account without investing. Now, again, George, being a skeptic, when he heard about this one, he's like, no freaking way, this is correct. And he went to work to disprove this strategy, and sure enough, proved that it is true, it does work. Extremely powerful stuff. Another one, do you realize the most important and powerful financial strategy for families today is only known by a few? And this strategy will teach you how to build generational wealth, okay? Generational wealth. Most families are just recreating generational poverty. So to build generational wealth, to give your children and your grandchildren tools and resources and money and the knowledge of how to continue this legacy that you'll leave. That is the benefit of this strategy. Extremely powerful. This was being talked about on CBS a number of years ago, and they highlighted one family who's using this strategy, and they've amassed millions and millions of dollars as a family. Small family, they don't make a lot of money, but in a few generations, they've amassed a fortune of millions of dollars from for their family from this one strategy. Another one here. Do you realize that Mitt Romney, former governor of Massachusetts, paid a 14.1% effective tax rate in 2011 legally? And that is a lower effective tax rate than most Americans. And most people can use one of his genius strategies to generate tax-free passive income if they just simply learned it. Okay, now Mitt Romney, former governor of Massachusetts, again, he's obviously a public figure. So this was being talked about on CNN a number of years ago. And there were two guys talking about this. And the one guy says to the other, this is really ridiculous. We really need to raise the tax rates for the wealthy. And the other guy just chuckled and laughed. And he's like, you clearly don't understand what's happening here. It's not about raising their tax rates. You can raise their tax rates all you want. The wealthy people know they know the legal loopholes. They know the legal loopholes. They know how to lower their effective tax rate. And that's really what's happening here. So that's what Mitt Romney's doing. That's what a lot of other wealthy people are doing. That's what you can do too. That's what we want to teach you how to do. So as a company, the name of our company is Finance. At the top and bottom of your screen, we spell it with a funky spelling, but we pronounce it finance. So as a company, we find and research these financial shortcuts. The ones we prove work mathematically, we document and share them with our community. And we are in the process of building the world's largest community of finance hackers. Okay, and hopefully at this point, you see why we call ourselves finance hackers. Okay, so I've been calling these financial shortcuts, these strategies. You heard Anish call them building blocks. So in our training system, in our training program, which is called Finance Academy, by the way, we call it Finance Academy. So inside of Finance Academy, we call these financial shortcuts building blocks. And the reason we call them building blocks is because they can all work alone on their own, like the Master Sweep account that I taught you tonight, can work by itself, right? You can get great results just using that one financial shortcut. But when you start combining these building blocks together in the most synergistic way possible, they are extremely effective, exponentially effective, more effective when they're combined together. It's called synergy, right? Like 1 + 1 = 3. That's how these building blocks work when you start combining them together in the right way. So that's why we call them building blocks, because you can stack them on top of each other and they work better when they're combined together. So this is what Finance Academy looks like when our members log in. And this is just a screenshot. So I just want to show this to you so you can see. The boxes on the bottom, those black boxes, those are the building blocks, okay? And all these different boxes, when you click on them, they're different training modules. This is all online. It's all digital training. So when you click on any of these boxes, it takes you to another screen. It's a whole bunch of different sections and segments. That is all video training. It's like what you're watching here tonight, this PowerPoint presentation. And we give you spreadsheets and calculators and exercises to do to really understand the concepts. So that's how the training is designed, quite brilliantly, in fact. And I'm just going to share another screenshot with you so you can see, again, the black boxes are building blocks. The green boxes, those are what we call integration blocks. And the integration blocks is where George Antone is going to walk you through step by step how to combine the building blocks together for maximum effectiveness and maximum results. Okay. So that's just a little sneak peek into what Finance Academy looks like. And let me just share some common questions with you. And before I do, Anish, can you just share with me, how am I doing on time? Do we have about 30 minutes left?
Ooh, you're probably, I'd say closer to about 15 or so.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to fly through this, my friends. Been giving you a lot of good, juicy details. So we're going to go through relatively quickly for these last couple sections. So again, hang on to your seats, buckle up, and let's rock and roll. Okay. Common questions. Why don't I know about this? Quite simple, because nobody gets paid a commission by you learning and implementing these strategies, because you're going to learn and implement these yourself. And another way the financial system thrives off of us is by fees and commissions, right? So that's why they don't teach you this. They don't want you to know this, because nobody gets paid a commission for it. Another question, I don't invest. Can I still use this? Yes, 100%, absolutely. If you don't invest, you can still use this. But again, of course, you're all here as investors with Broward, Miami-Dade, RIA, as you should be, learning how to invest. So another question here, I am an investor. Can I still use this? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Like I shared earlier, as an investor, your returns are going to go through the roof and your risk is going to go way down when you start combining these strategies with your investing. Okay, so it's truly win-win-win. Another question, I need an income now or very soon. I want to be real clear about this. Please listen very, very closely, okay? Obviously, a lot of people are hurting right now financially in the country with this pandemic that we've all been going through for the last year. So if you're here tonight and you're in a position where you're trying to figure out how to pay the bills, you're trying to figure out how to bring money in to survive, to keep a roof over your head and put food on the table, now is not the time for you to invest in this program, okay? Now is not the time for you to invest in this program and start learning these strategies. Like Anish had said earlier, in order for these strategies to work, you do need income. Ideally, you have some disposable income, right? So as long as you have a little bit of disposable income, you can start implementing these strategies and have them start working for you immediately. And again, your income can be passive or active. It doesn't matter, but you do need income. So if you're here tonight trying to figure out a way to pay the bills, to keep the lights on, go get that handled first. And then once you have some income coming in, enough to pay your bills and a little bit extra, then we'll be available. We'll be ready to teach you these strategies and you'll be on your path to becoming a finance hacker. Okay, so hopefully that's clear for everybody. Another question, I have debt, can I use this? Absolutely, 100%. We're gonna teach you how to pay off debt faster. And another one here, I am debt free, can I use this? 100% absolutely. We're gonna teach you also how to use debt very strategically and very powerfully to have you build a tremendous amount of wealth in your life. What resources will I need for this? Very simple. All you need is a computer or a smart device with an internet connection. Again, it's all online, it's all digital training. And our recommendation is 6 hours per month. And you can break that down into as little as 30-minute increments, okay? So pretty simple, pretty simple. Now you can do more than 6 hours a month if you want to, and most of our students find that they do. One of our students said this, and I love to share this. They're like, this is like eating potato chips. You know how hard it is to just eat one potato chip? It's like these strategies, once you dive into them, you see how effective they are. You start to really get excited and you want to just kind of implement as many of them as you can, as quickly as you can. So those are just some common questions. And now let me just share with you what some others are saying about Finance Academy. This is Rita Beebe. And Rita says, as an extremely busy realtor in Southern California, I've gone through more courses than I can count, always trying to stay one step ahead of the game when it comes to investing and saving money for my family and clients. Then I was introduced to Finance Academy. Talk about brilliant. Wow, I am now 100 plus steps ahead of the game. This is by far the easiest, most powerful, and unique program I have ever seen, and it's all in one place, which is great for my busy lifestyle. The step-by-step actionable strategies that you can implement immediately or at your own pace are so easy anyone can understand and do them. I stress a lot about my family's financial future, and now I feel like a huge weight has just been lifted off my shoulders. I cannot thank you enough for this program. I will be telling everybody I know about Finance Academy. And I just love what Rita says for many reasons. And the biggest thing is I think we can all relate to at least some part of what she says here. We can all relate to some of the things that she shared about her journey, right? So the results she's getting are incredible. And now she has complete financial peace of mind, which is really ultimately the goal, what we want you to have as well. Todd Brewington says the family bank and MSA concepts have changed our financial lives. Recapturing interest that would be lost has accelerated our debt payoff, and using strategic debt has helped me finance a new business venture that generates great passive income. Awesome. So the family bank is another one of the building blocks. Patrick Woolley says, George, your financial education should be required in every school. I personally agree with that. Probably will never happen though, unfortunately. He says, it has shown me how to use little tweaks that add up to huge savings. Incredible knowledge. I wish I had stumbled upon this years ago. And like I had said earlier, I've been teaching for George, a lead trainer for him, traveling all over the country. I've taught tens of thousands of investors at this point, George's strategies, George's techniques. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard people say, I wish I had found you years ago. Like I said earlier, that is what everybody says when they start learning from George. Where have you been my whole life? If I had only met you, fill in the blank years ago, I'd be in a much different, much better position right now, right? So I love what Patrick says there. Javier Heredia, this guy's awesome, really great guy, airline pilot, lives in Dallas, Texas. He says, amazing update. In 5 months using the MSA strategy, I've reduced debt by $37,660 in 5 months. Incredible results. These are the last two I'll read for you here. Mike Fresh says, life-changing. I think it's, I got something covering what he says there. Let me move that. I think it's the first thing to say. Not only are the building blocks amazing, but I feel the biggest game changer is how it changed our thinking. It has allowed us to be in a position to help others just with our knowledge. How do you eat an elephant? How do you change the world? Help one person at a time. This has put probably all of us in a position to really change our world. Thank you, George Antone. Thank you, team. I love what Mike says because what he highlights here is something that's real important to who we are as a community. And who we are and what we stand for is, yes, achieving financial success, achieving financial freedom, creating financial abundance. And there will come a point for you, just like there has for me and George and a lot of our other students, where it's not about the money anymore. It becomes about how do you give back and how do you make a difference and how do you help other people. So I really love what Mike says there because it's really a staple of our community. So just so you know the type of people we are and the type of people you'll be getting involved with when you join our community. And the last one I'll read for you here is Sandor. This guy's amazing. He's a physical education teacher, a gym teacher at a high school. He was super skeptical about joining because he's like, I'm not a numbers guy. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but we give a money back guarantee. So he's like, I got nothing to lose. Let me try it out. He quickly learned and realized that you don't have to be a numbers person to implement these strategies and have them work for you. So what he says is I was able to pay off $30,000 in debt in 1 year. It was supposed to take 6 by using a combination of the family bank, MSA, credit card float, and our financing system. Those are all individual building blocks. He says, every time I feel like I fully understand a concept, someone posts something or shares another way to benefit from that concept. The depths of the strategies are mind-blowing. And I love what Sandor says. Not only is he getting great results, and I love that, but he talks about our community and how interactive and how supportive our community is of each other, which is a huge, huge benefit of this training program. I will be right back. I just got a notification on my computer that my battery is low. Apparently it's not plugged in. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go.
No worries. I'm just going to add to that is he is correct on the community. I do ask a lot of questions on there too. Some of the big important things is that you don't have to make extra money or by using the mortgage strategy with the MSA account. It is good for any kind of debt. You know, whether it's student loans, credit cards, investment properties, you got debt, you want to be able to save that extra money, it knocks it down. And then again, I use a lot of different strategies. And even though you're talking about maybe 6 hours a month, it is addictive. What I am going to tell everyone, this is not like a get rich kind of thing. It's like kind of building your retirement. You put some money in and your Roth, and before you know it, oh, it's a little bit. And then you kind of wake up and, a year later it's, and now you're making a dent. And once you start actually using one of the things, like I'm doing some of the integration, so first I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. And it's starting to make a big difference also.
Awesome. That's really great feedback. Thanks, Anish. Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it is a long-term game plan. This is not get rich quick. These strategies, some of them will start getting great results for you pretty quickly, but most of them, they take time to take hold, right? We're basically teaching you how to redesign and recreate your entire personal financial system so that it's set up to build your wealth for you on autopilot. It's not like you do this or you invest, like I said earlier. You're going to do both simultaneously. All right, so go ahead, Anish.
Yeah, the other thing is I know he was talking about the family bank. So, I know a lot of you guys have kids and you want to teach them finance, as a family. Some of those building blocks were pretty awesome. Hey, maybe, your son wants to get a bicycle, and trying to teach them and using the MSA and all these different techniques. It's amazing what happens. And I know some of the, like on the community, like young kids, like 8 to 10 years old, like they're understanding it. It's going to sound kind of funny, faster than probably mom and dad sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super powerful. That family bank is a game changer. And again, it's a long-term strategy, but it's, you'll end up passing wealth, financial wealth to your children and grandchildren. And maybe even more importantly, knowledge and education and a system that they get to keep using. And I don't know if any of you know about this, but the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilt story. So the Rockefellers and Vanderbilts were two of the wealthiest families in the country and on the planet at one time. The Rockefellers passed down money and knowledge to their children and grandchildren, and they kept building the family fortune. The Vanderbilts only passed the money down without the knowledge. Within 2 generations, their entire fortune was completely gone. Because without the knowledge, the money is going to disappear eventually. So that's really what that family bank strategy is about, is building financial fortune for your family, building a legacy financially, but also passing down knowledge and also bringing your family closer together in the process, building closer relationships. Super powerful. So thanks, Anish. All right. So next steps, just go through this real quick. For those of you who are interested, for those of you who want to become a finance hacker and build your wealth as efficiently as possible and learn these strategies and be on that path to fully swimming downstream financially instead of swimming upstream, you're all invited. This is available for everybody. We're not going to say like it's only for 10 people. This is for anybody who wants to join. It's available for you. We want all of you to join. We want you to all benefit from this. So you're all invited to join our community and become a finance hacker. We do have a special offer for you tonight that is limited time that I'm going to share with you in just a minute. But when you join, after you join, these are the next steps. And I'll take about 5 minutes to go through this, Anish. Is that okay? Okay, great. So, all right, awesome. Thanks, man. So as a member, step number 1, when you join, you get access to the dozens of building blocks and all the integration blocks, okay? And then you're just going to watch the Start Here training that explains the big picture, and you're going to join the private online community, chime in, introduce yourself, start connecting, start networking with people. All right, step 3, you dedicate 6 hours per month in as little as 30-minute increments to learn and implement a building block. You set it on autopilot. We teach you exactly how to do it, and you move on to the next one. Okay, that's as simple as it gets. Step 4, you watch these strategies catapult you towards your financial goals, and you leap ahead of most people as you progress. People will be blown away by your knowledge. You're going to be sharing things with people, and they're going to have no clue what you're talking about. And this is not about impressing people. What it is about is that when you're getting results and you start sharing this with the people you love, the people you care about, your family, your friends, your colleagues, they're going to want to learn about it. They're going to want to know about it too. So you're going to get to help the people you love, the people you care about, also improve their financial life, right? So that's really what it comes down to. Step 5 is we keep contributing more building blocks for you to implement as we discover them. And usually once a quarter, George is adding more knowledge, more information, more building blocks, more training into the program. So with this program, no need to budget, no need to invest in distressed real estate, no need to invest in stocks and bonds. No need to invest in anything that requires a time commitment. No need to sell products and services. Nothing against any of these things. You just don't have to do it with this program. And when you join Finance Academy as a member, you're going to receive, again, 30 plus building blocks and integration blocks. Tonight, I showed you one. We talked about a couple of the others high level. But let me just share with you again, high level about some of these building blocks. The Master Sweep account, we call this a 100,000 plus building block. You saw tonight how this can be even a 7-figure building block by itself over time. This is fully automated, set up at your local bank. And again, we're going to teach you how to use the power of floats that banks use against us to work for you instead. You're going to be able to pay off debt in a third of the time without making additional payments. The financing system building block, another 100,000 plus building block, fully automated, done at your local bank. This is the one discovered 200 years ago by someone that Forbes magazine called the founding father of international finance. You're going to learn how to generate double-digit returns from your bank account without investing. Extremely powerful. Another one here, insurance arbitrage building block. Super powerful, 500,000 plus building block. This is fully automated. You notice this is not done at your local bank, but it's just one phone call away. We'll give you somebody you can reach out to get this strategy set up. And this is where you're going to learn how to use the power of arbitrage to generate tax-free income in 15 years. This is different than the Mitt Romney strategy that's going to generate tax-free income. There's a couple strategies that will do that for you. And you're also going to increase your net worth by over $500,000 over that same time. This is literally like planting a seed in your filing cabinet. You water it once a year, and before you know it, you have this enormous, very fruitful money tree. Okay, very, very powerful strategy. Inflation arbitrage building block, another one. This is a 250,000 plus building block. Fully automated, done at your local bank, very simple to set up. We're going to teach you how to make the compounding power of inflation build your wealth for you on autopilot. You want to align your interests with the Federal Reserve. They're going to keep printing more and more money, which is going to cause more and more inflation. So instead of being hurt by the rising cost of goods and services and the diminishing value of your dollars, you're going to be building your wealth automatically with this building block. Okay, another one, self-insurance building block, 50,000 plus building block. Fully automated, done at your local bank. We're going to teach you how to use the same risk shifting methods that insurance companies use to pay less money while having more and better insurance. Now, at the end of the day, we all need to have insurance. It's a very critical component to your financial system. You want to make sure you're insured properly because most people are one disaster or one unforeseen accident or illness or something away from being completely wiped out financially. So you want to make sure you have the right insurance in place. And of course, we all want to pay the least amount possible while having the best insurance possible. So that's what we're going to teach you how to do with this building block. And again, that's just a handful of the building blocks. There are dozens more. All right. And when you join, you're also going to get access to our private online community of finance hackers, where you get to interact with others, network, connect, and build relationships with some really brilliant, really amazing people all over the country. And the value here, if you implemented just one of the many building blocks and set it on autopilot, you can increase your net worth by tens of thousands of dollars, if not 100,000 plus. Extremely valuable just from one building block, right? And on our membership, on our website, if you go to finance.com, our membership dues are $1,297 for 1 year of membership, where you get access to all of that, all right? And for those of you who joined tonight, I'm actually going to give you all a better deal in just a couple minutes because you're here with Broward Miami-Dade RIA, because you're part of this incredible organization. We're going to give you a discount even on that price, and we're going to include bonuses for you. So before I share with you the discount, let me just go over the bonuses with you. All right, so the bonuses we're going to include. Now, these bonuses are mastering the inner game of money. This is the first one. We all have stories and beliefs and past experiences and emotions tied to money that's either supporting us to build wealth or holding us back, right? So with this program, we're going to teach you how to overcome limiting beliefs about money and write a completely new money story for yourself, all right? Truly unlock your greatest potential. So this is valued at $497. We'll include it as a bonus for you here tonight when you join. Interview with a travel hacker. This has not been too applicable, too relevant in the last year, but hopefully we can all get back to traveling sometime soon. One of our students is a travel hacker. He's learned how to travel around the world for next to nothing. He shares the exact websites he uses to find these crazy, incredible deals. And we're going to share that interview with you. It's valued at $97. All right. And we're also going to give you access to all 3 of George Antone's best-selling books, The Wealthy Code, The Banker's Code, and The Debt Millionaire. All right. So we give you those. Make sure you read them, especially as investors. You're going to learn incredibly powerful strategies in these books. This is valued at $37. And a mega bonus we're going to include are these 2 optional tickets to attend what has been a live event in the past. We've done it virtually for the past year since COVID, extremely well. It's translated very well virtually. You get 2 tickets to attend this live event or virtual event called Hacking the Financial Matrix. It's a 3-day event taught by George Antone himself. One of our students attended this event. He's the president of a board of directors for a bank. When he attended this event, he said, George, you are teaching here some of the most advanced Jedi financial strategies that are only known by bankers. George's like, yeah, I know. That's the point. That's exactly what we're doing. So at this event, again, it's taught by George Antone, extremely beneficial. Learn powerful new strategies that take your finance hacking game to the next level, network and connect with others, and truly maximize your ability to create even greater wealth and financial happiness. And this is valued at $19.97 just for these 2 tickets, $19.97. We're going to include them as a bonus. So at this point, a lot of people in the presentation are like, I get it. I want to learn how to have the financial system work for me. I want to learn how to swim downstream financially. I see how important this is. I see how powerful this is. Where do I go to join? So if you want to join and become a member of our community and start on your path of becoming a finance hacker, right down at the bottom of your screen, you see the URL you're going to go to. Just type that in your web browser. Anish, maybe you can put that in the chat as well. financelive.com/BMD for Broward, Miami-Dade. And that's where you go. Now, that being said, those first 3 bonuses that I shared, that's only going to be for the first 10 people who join tonight. So if you know you want all the bonuses, you know you want to join, get on over there now and be one of the first 10 to join. Okay. For those of you who aren't sure, for some reason, you're not sure at this point, it's usually one of these 3 things: money, time, or doubt, right? So let me just touch on these real quick. And Anish, thanks for your patience, man. I know I'm going a little bit over. All right, so let me just address these real quick. If you have a money concern, the reality is you are paying for this indirectly due to lack of knowledge. Literally right now and every single second of every day of your entire life, you are losing money to financial institutions, the government, and others by not implementing these strategies. That is called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is bigger than all the other biggest costs you can imagine. Bigger than taxes, bigger than interest, bigger than inflation combined together. Opportunity cost. So you're losing money every single day because you don't know and don't have these strategies implemented. In fact, the average American loses over $250,000 during their career to financial institutions, the government, and others by not implementing this information. So the reality is you're going to pay for this either way. One way is very, very expensive. That is by lack of knowledge. That's most people. The other way is much, much, much cheaper. That is just join Finance Academy. Learn and implement these strategies. Do 1 a month. Do as many as you want. Just get these strategies implemented as quickly as you can so you can stop leaking money out of your financial boat for the rest of your life, right? All right, so the choice is simple. In our opinion, you're going to pay either way. You get to choose which way you pay, okay? So let's talk about time. And with time, we get it. Time is a concern for most people. We're all super busy, have very long to-do lists. The reality is this is a self-paced training. So you get to go at your own pace from the comfort of your own home. So I recommend make room for this, make time for this, right? Cut something else out, figure out how to spend 6 hours a month. If you literally don't have 6 hours a month, you need this training. You are working yourself to death if you don't have 6 hours per month to dedicate to something that can completely transform your financial life. So figure out how to make 6 hours a month available and dedicate it to this. That is my recommendation. And again, you can break that up in as little as 30-minute increments each month. So that's time, and then doubt. And when I say doubt, I just mean you're not sure. For some reason, you're not sure. Maybe you never heard of us. Maybe you've got some other things going on. I don't know. I'm not sure why you have some doubt, but you have some doubt. If you have doubt, we will do our best to take that doubt away by giving you our ironclad, no questions asked, no risk money back guarantee. And with all of our training, we do this because we know what we do works. We know you will get results from it. So we're confident to offer this. We say, if for any reason you aren't thrilled and satisfied with our training, just let us know at the end of 15 days or any time in the next 15 days from when you join, and we will refund you 100% of your purchase price. Try it out. You have the entire 15 days to decide, risk-free. Again, we know this works. As long as you do it, it will work. So we stand behind what we do. We give you the money back guarantee. All right. So hopefully that takes away your doubt. We really don't want anything to stand in your way of making this investment in yourself, in your life, in your financial future, for your family, for your friends, for the world, for the planet, and what you're going to get to do once you have the financial abundance and the financial freedom. So we do everything we can to make it as easy as possible for you to make this investment in yourself. And this is the package we're offering. Extremely valuable, tons of bonuses, valued at $13,422. And like I said, on our website, it's $1297 just to join Finance Academy for a year. Because you're here with Broward, Miami-Dade, RIA, we're going to give this to you for $797 for the 1-year membership. And if it makes it easier for you, you can also do 3 payments of $297. Okay. So that's basically it. It's a no-brainer. This is, in my opinion, if you're committed to building your wealth efficiently and effectively, we don't want any barriers for people to join this program. All right. So that's what we're giving to you. And again, those first bonuses I mentioned on the bottom of your screen right now, that's for the first 10 people only. The mega bonus, the 2 tickets to the live event or the virtual event, that's for everybody who joins, and everything's available online now. So literally as soon as you join, you'll get a username and password emailed to you. You'll get access to the program. You get to log in and start going through everything right away. And again, that's where you go to join, financelive.com/BMD. So that is it, my friends. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for hanging with me. I hope this was valuable for you. It's been a real pleasure to be here. And Anish, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
So a couple of things before we let you guys all go. So number one, if you guys actually have questions and concerns, you could email me. Because, and I'm just going to give my quick end of this story. Was so last year, about a year ago, you came here. I said, I'm not really sure. I bought into it myself. I actually refinanced one of my investment properties. I'm doing the insurance arbitrage, which I set up a life insurance. I set up a MSA account through my life insurance, and I'm starting to see the numbers happen. And one of the reasons, I mean, we have a ton of people that always want to speak at our event. I thought it'd be pretty cool a year later, because Paul didn't even know I've been doing this, and we kind of chatted right before the event today. That, I mean, it's so valuable. That's why we had him come back so quick. Again, 15-day, money back guarantee. It's a no-brainer in general. And again, if you want to email me tomorrow, next couple of days, you could ask me, questions on what I'm doing. I have no problem on that. So, we fully stand behind Paul, and obviously Georgia and Tone. I mean, as I said, I'm on the Facebook community, the private group. I've seen him speak on some of his events that he does, and virtually, obviously, but it's been phenomenal. So, I'm pretty excited about it. And again, it's pretty addictive. So, I want to, again, thank Paul. I want to thank you guys for staying a little bit longer to hang out and listen to us. The replay will be up in 48 hours on our YouTube channel. And again, our next event is this Saturday. Thank you, Paul. Hopefully we'll get to, get you down here in person.
Hopefully next year, man. Yeah. God willing.
Absolutely. So, and I'm looking forward to see the next building block he builds. So I'm, let George do all the work, just follow him. That's what I tell people. So thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it, Anish. And thank you, everybody, for attending, for investing your time. I really hope it was worth it. And look forward to crossing paths with all of you, hopefully real soon.
Yep. Great. Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.